Hi, welcome back to my channel, Reclaim with Dr. David Segedidi here. It's really pleasure that you guys have allowed me to be here to be able to share my story on this platform. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I welcome the new subscribers, whoever that is new to this channel. And if you are not new, if you are new and you have not subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe. So in the last couple of episodes, I have been talking about my life story, and today we are kicking off with episode number 8. Yeah, number 8. Previously, we talked about a lot of challenges that I had growing up in a war zone, surviving wars in 3 different countries, and living as a refugee in 3 different countries, including my own country, Burundi, and how I lived in different refugee camps. And previously I talked about the refugee camp that we lived in when we returned back to Burundi during the civil war. And after quite a while, when we were living in that refugee camp, at one point they didn't have enough resources to be able to sustain the numbers of refugees. So we were one of the families that could not find a place to stay in the refugee camp, and we had to leave the refugee camp and go and live somewhere about 2 hours walk away from the refugee camp. But remember, I had already studied primary school in that same refugee camp, and there was any other school that I could go to continue my education. I was in primary 1. Yes. Yeah, I talked about all this in the last 2 episodes, and if you want to go back and check that out if you haven't, and if you have, just roll, Now, I want to focus on the part where we have been living in this new place, and I have been walking 2 hours every day, going to school and coming back as a primary 1, which was quite a challenge. Sometimes it rains and you wouldn't want to stop, because if you stop, then it's gonna get dark and then you're gonna get home very late, and it's dangerous, So I would just, if it's raining, if it's sunny, whatever, I'll just keep walking if I'm going to school or going home. It was quite a challenge, it was quite a challenge. But then I managed to find a place where I could study primary 2, which was about 45 minutes walk away from my house. And that's where I studied primary 2, and it was an amazing experience. So now, as growing up as a child, as a boy in a war zone, I talked about how my country, Burundi, was torn apart by civil war for many years, for over a decade of active war in the country. I know that most people do not know about this information about what happened to Burundi, and that's why I'm very pleased to actually be able to share this with you as a personal experience. So now, growing up in this country that was torn apart by war, and as a teenager, you're starting to discover yourself, discover the world around you. You're starting to discover what is your place in the society. And as a little boy who was becoming a teenager now at age 10, 11, 12, people started looking at you, because at that time, boys, as you grow up, they would tell that it's time for you to join, the army, or to join the rebellion movement to fight for the good cause. I'll give you a little bit of big background. Where I was born is in a place called Kamenge in Burundi, which is the place where the actual organization of the rebellion movement and the recruitment and everything was happening at the very beginning of civil war. So growing up in that environment with those kind of people, they would expect me to be able to contribute to the struggle, to fight against, for the struggle of my people. So at that time, there was a lot of division, and then for myself, people start looking at me and say, maybe one day you become a warrior, maybe one day you come and fight for your people. And so as a teenager, I remember being puzzled about what to do, started questioning about what life is about. I've seen a lot at this point. I've seen a lot of people, being killed in front of my eyes. I've seen people who have been dead for days left, to decompose in open air. I had seen a lot of things that were very bad. And now, as a teenager, I'm going to school, as I said previously, I would go walking to school. It was pretty normal to find a dead body on the road, and you just find a crowd of people looking, and they say, if you ask what's happening there, they will tell you, it's someone who was shot last night, blah blah blah, and you just go and look and say, oh, right, okay. And as a teenager, I didn't know the process of what happened after that, but the adults would know what to do with the body. So this is the kind of environment that I was growing up in, which is very complicated. So now, as I'm starting to discover myself and finding my place in the world, in the community, in my society, somehow God protected me because He used to take me with Him. And that, I believe, is one of the things that protected me. So when I'm not at school, I will be at church, I'll be playing with my friends, and my dad will invest time with me to take me either to church or to prayer meetings. I remember sometimes he take me to prayer meetings where there is only adults and I'm the only kid with them, But this transformed me. This made me the person that I am today. So I believe that's one of the things that protected me from, getting involved with guns and active war. And I don't know if I would be here today. I'm not saying that, I'm not criticizing anything here, but I'm just saying that God favored me, He protected me, and I really thank Him for that. So now, as I entered primary 5, in the area where we lived, which was very far from where we used to live in the refugee camp, now this area was invaded by the armed groups who wanted to take over the whole area. So we had to run away from this area. We ran miles and miles, carrying luggages. And this was, I think, one of the last active wars that I was involved in, that I experienced. And there is something that happened during this war that I'm going to talk about in the end of this video that really, to this day, it's something that affected me. Something that I wish it did not happen. Right, so I'll come back to that later in the video. Now, so this war started, the rebellion movement. We were just sleeping during the night, heard bombs and guns and shootings, and then we heard people running across the street screaming. So my dad and my mom, they woke us up and we put everything into the whatever that we could get our hands on, put them into luggages and started carrying them on the head, running. So we ran into the place where we used to live, as where the refugee camp was. So that's where we went back. We stayed there for quite some time. But now I was away from my school, and my school is one of the places that was bombed. It was destroyed really bad. Luckily, there was no any children in the classrooms. So now I just started to think, I need to go to school, and I joined one of the, the refugee camp school that was started is actually continued. So I went back to that school, and there was a lot of teachers who remembered me and they welcomed me. So I went there for a couple of months. But then after that, the situation got better at my school, my old school. So I went back there as a primary 5 student. But now we couldn't go to live in that area where the school was. So remember, we are moving back to where we used to live as the refugees. And now I have to attend a school that is where we had moved, which is about 2 hours walk away. So now I started the journey that I used to do when I was a primary 1 student. Now I'm in primary 5, so I had to do the same now, going in the opposite direction. So I went to this school. I loved it though. I loved my teachers. I had a really good experience there. I remember when we went there, everything was destroyed. The walls of the school was, there were lots of holes of bullets, and one part was bombed. So there was a part that was destroyed. But we just went in there and studying, and I remember at one point that the school received funds and they were able to reconstruct the school. So I remember walking there, so primary 5 and primary 6. I would walk there, I would carry my copybooks and my school material in a plastic bag, because usually it used to rain. So when it rains, I'll know that my copybooks are protected, but I would just keep pointing on, I'll keep running. If I'm going to school, I'm coming back to school and it's raining, because sometimes it takes a long time, and when it rains, it rains for hours, and I would just protect my copybooks with the plastic bag. It was amazing, it was good. So now I mentioned about something that happened during that war that destroyed my school. During that time, the armed groups, they invaded, entered my house. So remember, during the night, we didn't manage to collect everything, and we forgot something that we had protected over a decade of war. Remember, we went to DRC, we went to Tanzania, we came back to Burundi, but we never lost this thing. It was very precious to us. And every time we ran away from the war, we always carried this with us. But this possession was destroyed towards the end of the Civil War. So when they entered my house, they destroyed everything that they could see, and they took these things. And by these things, what I mean, they were photographs. My mom and my dad kept our photos when we were young. My photos as a baby, my photo as a 4-year-old, like the life before the war. They kept all the photos together. But during that war, the guys who entered my house, they took a stone and went like that on every photo, on the cards, the photo card. They went like that, destroyed everything, took all the color. The first thing that we go for was the head. So all the photos, each and every photo that we had was destroyed during that time. So at this point, I don't have any photo that has been preserved for me as a baby, for me as a child, which is very unfortunate. It's very frustrating. And at the moment, it's not like now my children sometimes they ask me, can you show us the photo when you were a child? Can you show us the photo? I can't show them because of that night when all the photos were destroyed. So thank you for tuning in for today. That's part of what happened as I was becoming a teenager. In the next episode, I will expand a little bit more now, entering high school, my life there, and what happened. Thank you for tuning in today with Rick Claire and Dr. David. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in my next episode. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for reaching to the end of this video. We really appreciate your support for this channel and for my story. I'm sharing this story so that more people will be, inspired, and that those who have lost hope, they can reclaim their hope. We will stop the story there, and we continue the story in the next video, the upcoming video. In the meanwhile, is there anything that you feel in your heart that you'd like to share from the videos that we have done so far, from the story that I have shared so far? Please go ahead and leave us a comment. It is encouraging for me to see that you guys are engaging and commenting and telling me what you think. Secondly, I would like to encourage you, if you are new to this channel, to subscribe. 64% of those who are watching these videos, you are not subscribed. You are not subscribing. And I would encourage you to subscribe, because this will help us to reach more audience, more people. So please go ahead and subscribe. Also share these videos if you feel that you like them, if you feel like the content is helping you or could help somebody else. So I appreciate your support for this channel, and I'm looking forward to releasing the next video. God bless you, and bye for now. Thank you.